the crappy governor, that waste of time, Kathy Hochul, or the crappy mayor, that waste of time, Eric Adams, do that here. I know Eric wants to do it, but he's got no power. You know, that reminds me, Roger, all these things that Eric wants to do, I get told this time and time again. And you know, there was a time when Eric and I were friends. I don't dislike him personally, I don't, but he's a horrible mayor, based on expectations. And he can't get anything done. It's always the city council's fault. It's the governor's fault. He gets nothing done. And I've been reading your buddy Sal Greco's Instagram account lately, and he's all over Eric. You know, he's talking about Commissioner Caban may have to step down at some point soon, and you know, the mayor is in big trouble, talking about the FBI, and that's going to come down hard on him eventually. So it does seem like you and Greco at least seem to believe, after talking to Curtis last hour, that Adams, a second term, is almost impossible.
Well, first of all, Sid, Eric doesn't like you because you're so much better dressed than he is.
With that said, because Johnny Tobacco just reminded me, you let me out last year. Will I make Roger Stone's best dressed list this year?
I think you're a front runner.
All
That's
right.
what I hear. Because, you know, you got some of those Joseph Abood suits that are really first rate.
Thank you.
No, I think, look, Eric's in trouble. It's a pretty open secret that there may even be a federal indictment against him that's sealed. They don't normally, unless your name is Trump, of course, they don't charge you with crimes before an election. And I should stress that he is yet uncharged with a crime. At this point, there are no formal accusations against him, but there's certainly a lot of fire. He's in trouble because he has let illegal migrants take over the city of New York, and the price tag on that, which I read yesterday, so far, Sid, we're talking about $5 billion.
That's right.
$5 billion.
Oh, by the way, $5 billion is the price tag. That's money. The other price tag is you can't use Randall's Island anymore. Those kids, they can't play ball there anymore because that's become one big tent village. You can't go to Central Park at night because raping and beating up people again. You really can't travel. There's nowhere you can go in this city. So it's a $5 billion price tag. And then lifestyle, that tag is even larger.
Yeah, the social costs, I don't recognize the New York that I grew up near. I really don't. But look, I think he's angling for a pardon at this point. He had no particular relationship with Biden, although Biden will probably maintain the pardon power up until the end of his term. I see the way he's trying to suck up to Kamala Harris now, one of the first Democrats of the country, to try to convince us that she could actually talk and chew gum at the same time. I don't know if this is going to work out well for Eric. He's very vulnerable in the primary, and that's if he can avoid, legal problems. But he's very arrogant about it. That's what surprises me. I remember very well when he got into a shouting match with an older Jewish woman who had survived the Holocaust. What politician would do that? I can't imagine what politician would actually do that.
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you two. Harris and Walz. These are two people that if you think, because look, Eric Adams, that was very disrespectful and quite frankly grotesque.
A federal corruption investigation into Mayor Adams' 2021 campaign now closing in on the mayor himself. Prosecutors in the Southern District of New York serving him with a subpoena to hand over potential evidence in their case.
By requiring the documents, text messages, and other type of communications from the mayor himself, this shows that they are getting closer to building the case around the mayor.
Ken Gray is a retired FBI special agent.
You're trying to show what the mayor received and what the mayor provided in exchange for that.
The political probe partially stems from the opening of a new Turkish consulate in Manhattan. It's been alleged that Adams or those close to him urged FDNY inspectors to greenlight its occupancy, an alleged quid pro quo dating back nearly 3 years.
Whether or not the mayor actually received anything from the Turkish government as far as campaign contributions, which would be foreign contributions, would be illegal.
2 women close to the mayor already had their homes raided by the feds, and Adams has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing.
We don't, do quid pro quo. We follow the law. Whatever the reviewers are looking for, we are fully cooperating with it. And my role is to allow them to do their job without interference.
Thursday night, his campaign attorney said in a statement they've been doing their own investigation and that they've, quote, not identified any evidence of illegal conduct by the mayor, saying, quote, to the contrary, we have identified extensive evidence undermining the reported theories. The mayor now going head-to-head with the FBI and several potential mayoral challengers.
His approval ratings are not great, and they've never been that great, and this certainly isn't going to help with any of that. The fact things the voters in New York really care about are not going the way Eric Adams needs them to go to win re-election. That's a much bigger threat to his re-election bid.
And again, no charges have been filed in connection to this case. Deputy Mayor Fabian Levy tells me tonight that Adams will continue to cooperate with this investigation, which he hopes will lead to a quick end to the probe. So far, there's no timeline for this investigation.
Welcome back to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. And as you just heard, or you saw, Eric Adams has been under fire for quite a while here. We've covered that in depth here on this show. I myself have commented for the last year and a half about how there has been a looming black cloud over this individual's head. And as you heard first on Sid Rosenberg's show, where he was interviewing Roger Stone, my friend, and then, of course, the WPIX 11 report, Eric Adams was hit with subpoenas for a federal grand jury, and I could tell you that is never a good thing. Also, there's going to be a couple other things we're going to cover on this show besides the Eric Adams story. That infamous nightclub up in the Bronx that has been mentioned here numerous times, and it involves, just an eclectic group of people that get together at this place. Con Sofrito up in the Bronx. The weekend Hurrah party, the final weekend is upon us. They somehow put an advertisement out that they're having a party, even though they have a pending contempt of court hearing. I'm going to read you the article and you make up your own mind on what kind of, it's just like thumbing your nose at the court, at the law, it's just nonstop with these people. And remember, it is the police commissioner of New York City, of the NYPD, Ed Caban's brother, that owns it. And we're also going to play an interview I did on Live with Chris's World. It's we covered plenty of topics. We actually spoke about a topic I haven't discussed yet on the show, which is wrestling. I'm a big WWE fan, and we actually covered WWE. We also spoke about the presidential campaign that's going on between Donald Trump and also Kamala Harris. So stay tuned for that. But first, we're going to get right into this with Eric Adams and his subpoenas. Mayor Adams, his campaign in City Hall subpoenaed by feds as part of Turkey investigation. This is coming from the Daily News. Manhattan federal prosecutors subpoenaed Mayor Adams' election committee and his City Hall office last month as part of their investigation into whether Turkey's government pumped illegal donations into his 2021 campaign coffers. A source familiar with the matter told the Daily News late Thursday. The new batch of grand jury subpoenas marked the latest escalation in the probe led by prosecutors in Manhattan U.S. Attorney Damian Williams' office. In November, FBI agents working on the investigation stopped the mayor in the street and seized his cell phones, a dramatic move that came days after feds raided the homes of multiple individuals connected to him, including Brianna Suggs, his chief political fundraiser, and Rana Abasova, a longtime Adams aide, who used to serve as his liaison to local Turkish diaspora communities. The new subpoenas, which include one targeting the mayor directly, are seeking additional similar information to what has already been swept up in the probe, like text messages and bank account information, said the source familiar with the matter who spoke on condition of anonymity. Adams has not been publicly accused of any wrongdoing. According to the New York Times, which first reported the latest subpoenas, they also seek information about the mayor's travels and campaign fundraising. Beyond the mayor, the Times reported subpoenas are likely to sweep in information from people who worked on Adams' 2021 campaign and have since been appointed to serve in positions at City Hall. According to sources familiar with the matter, the feds investigating the mayor have zeroed in on his multiple trips to the Middle Eastern country, as well as a batch of donations to his 2021 campaign from executives of a Brooklyn-based construction company owned by Turkish nationals. Other issues under scrutiny include the mayor's effort to help resolve fire safety violations at Turkey's consulate in Manhattan, as well as reportedly accepting free upgrades on Turkish Airlines flights. Brendan McGuire, the mayor's former chief counsel at City Hall, who now serves as his lead attorney in the federal probe, said Adams, his campaign, and his office are in the process of responding to the recently issued subpoenas. McGuire also said that he and other lawyers at WilmerHale, the law firm where he's a partner, have since November conducted our own investigation of the areas we understand the U.S. Attorney's Office has been reviewing. Our investigation has included an evaluation of campaign documents, an analysis of tens of thousands of electronic communications, and witness interviews, McGuire said in a statement. To be clear, we have not identified any evidence of illegal conduct by the mayor. To the contrary, we have identified extensive evidence undermining the reported theories of federal prosecution as to the mayor, which we have voluntarily shared with the U.S. Attorney. A spokesman for the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office declined to comment. As first reported by the News, earlier this year, a federal grand jury has been reviewing evidence as part of the investigation into the mayor's 2021 campaign, at least since June. After that report, Lisa Zornberg, Adams' chief counsel at City Hall, told reporters subpoenas are served all the time during federal investigations. They're a tool to gather evidence, she said at the time. The source familiar with the new subpoenas confirmed they were issued by a federal grand jury. Federal grand juries have the power to both issue subpoenas for records and testimony and can bring indictments as well. It remains unclear whether the probe into the mayor's campaign and his Turkey ties will result in any charges. As for comment on the new subpoenas, Fabian Levy, Adams' spokesman at City Hall, said the mayor remains committed to cooperate with the investigation. As a former member of law enforcement, the mayor has been clear over the last 9 months that he will cooperate with any investigation underway, Levy said. Nothing has changed. He expects everyone to cooperate to swiftly bring this investigation to a close. Okay, so I'm going to try to break this down as best I can. So there's been an investigation, as it was, written in the article. There's been an investigation for quite a while, but they're only stating this one investigation. As I stated before, there's at least 4. There's 4 separate investigations going on. And in this investigation, they're looking at his dealings with the Turkish embassy, the Turkish government, and that all stemmed from a civil lawsuit by a firefighter. This firefighter was suing, and he unveiled that there was some kind of shenanigans with the Turkish embassy by pushing the permits to open up the embassy, and voila, that started this whole Turkey part of this Eric Adams investigation. And it's really spun out of control, where now they're looking in the flights that he took to Turkey. And of course, I want to remind you that on that plane was also his aide, that thug, Timothy Pearson. And I can exclusively report here on my own show right now to you, this audience, that Ingrid Lewis Martin, Eric Adams' right-hand woman, was also subpoenaed. So there's a lot of subpoenas going on. And here's the catch. Now, Eric Adams' attorney that's on this, he used to work for the Southern District of New York. Eric Adams cannot give any kind of testimony because it's going to involve way too many people. The only way out of this, the best way out of this would be if his lawyer cut a deal. I don't know what kind of a deal that would entail, but of course, you're looking at the indictment of a sitting New York City mayor. It's never a good thing to say that. It's actually a sad day when this happens, but I know Eric will probably try to play, the race card. Of course, Damian Williams, who's the head of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Southern District of New York, he's African-American. Breon Peace in the Eastern District of New York in Brooklyn, where Eric, they also looking into things in his campaign over there. He's also African-American. Eric is not going to be able to bamboozle people anymore with the whole, I'm the second coming of David Dinkins and God ordained me to be the mayor. Eric has been a certain way his whole political career and also in his police career. He's a very conflicted individual. He's a conflicted individual in that he makes some head-scratching decisions. I don't know why. I also don't know why he keeps this cast of characters surrounding him, but this is not good. This grand jury, when they look for this kind of, remember, they also had Eric Adams' phones. They previously seized them. So to be looking for more text messages, and I love the spin by his lawyer, but you don't know which witnesses they have or who's talking to them. The only thing that matters here is what the U.S. attorney has. What do they have? Because when they are looking to speak to you as the target, which is what Eric Adams is right now, that means that they believe they have enough to get an indictment on you. I kind of see the same pattern we just saw with Bob Menendez, another guy who was a state senator, and he said he's innocent, and he was found guilty, and he's now out of his Senate seat, and he's facing a jail sentence that'll be appropriate since he got away with stuff many years ago while he was a senator. So he was a senator, he had to resign, and I see a lot of, it's like the same kind of case, same political corruption, and I believe this is the beginning of the end for the Eric Adams administration. Now, whether he ends up getting indicted, I would probably hedge my bet. I believe there is already something in the office that's sealed. But at the same time, if they don't bring this, because remember, I also stated on this show and also stated on WABC radio that Eric was actually trying to cut a deal with Kamala Harris if he gave her the Black faith community to endorse her. If she became president, she would pardon him. So it's not the Donald Trump. Everybody, just so you understand, he is not angling for Donald Trump to pardon him. He is not a Republican. He's talked a lot of garbage about Donald Trump in the media. I believe he had a cell waiting for him in Rikers Island when President Trump went through his trial in Manhattan at that witch hunt. And then if he was going to get handcuffed and taken away, as they said that they found him guilty in that sham trial, Eric said he was going to have Rikers Island open just for him. So don't mistake that he's looking for a pardon from Donald Trump or President Trump if he were to win the election. It's actually Kamala Harris. He's been buttering up to her ever since Joe Biden stepped down and said he wasn't going to run for president. So this is an interesting story you're gonna hear more details. It's like a faucet, that's a leaky faucet that drips, and eventually it just bursts. And then we get into the next topic here because Eric obviously has this problem, and then there might be another problem because his favorite nightclub in the Bronx, his favorite boy, we like to have remember his Tito's and salsa when he was with Jimmy Rodriguez at some press conference in the Bronx.
And I'm always up in the BX at Jimmy's spot, up in the BX, doing a cigar and a Tito's with salsa and a good meal. So just being able to enjoy this amazing city.
So Sofrito is now not only getting evicted, but they're having some kind of party It's the last hurrah. And everybody's asking, is Eric Adams going to be there? Now, he was just served all these subpoenas. I mean, everybody's up in arms in his administration. But there's one thing I can tell you. The majority of his administration, and from Ingrid Lewis to Eric Adams himself, to his police commissioner, whose brother owns the place, to Philip Banks, his deputy mayor of public safety, the unindicted co-conspirator, his brother David Banks. I mean, it's everybody that's anybody in this Democrat Party in New York, either the city or the state or even the lieutenant governor, they all went to this Sofrito. And you'll also go there and find who? It's like the Hall of Felons. You have Fat Joe, Peter Guns, Eric B. I mean, all these guys are convicted criminals, and here's the police department just walks right in, these executives, and they're like, hey, let me take a picture with you guys. I know we're knowingly associating with someone who's likely or reasonably believed to have engaged in criminal activity, but let's forget about that. That rule only applies to Sal Greco, and Roger Stone falls under that category. So that is the only person that we fire and destroy their life for this. But hey, don't look at us. And now, here's what is occurring to Con Sofrito. New York City Poles hang out Con Sofrito, throwing closing celebration this weekend before court-ordered eviction. It's a supposed last hurrah for Con Sofrito, the Bronx joint co-owned by the NYPD commissioner's brother and frequented by Mayor Adams and other Poles, before it's being forced to shut down over an illegal party room it operated. The owners of Con Sofrito in Westchester Square trumpeted word of a bash set for Friday at the restaurant on social media. Con Sofrito, the last dance, the closing celebration. A flyer for the party reads, "Our last weekend to create life-lasting memories at Con Sofrito." A second party is slated for Sunday. Sunday is going to be the last day, a second flyer states. Here's the flyer. The restaurant and club was ordered to shut down in a court-ordered settlement after the landlord objected to a party room on the premises that did not have required city permits. A notice of eviction was issued on August 7th to be executed by city marshals on August 22nd. A copy of the notice indicates, if you do not vacate the location listed above within 14 days after the date of this notice, you may be evicted without further notice, the document reads. The eviction stems from a court fight that started in 2023 between the landlord, Joseph Dodonna, and his company, 1315 Commerce LLC, and the partnership that owns the restaurant, which includes Richard Caban, a brother of Police Commissioner Edward Caban, and Bronx businessman Jimmy Rodriguez. In February, a lawyer for 1315 Commerce filed a motion with the court alleging the restaurant partners had built the illegal party room in violation of their lease. To avoid eviction over the motion, Richard Caban and his partners agreed in a court-approved settlement in February to close Con Sofrito permanently by August 31st and dismantle the party room by March 1st, a development first reported by the Daily News. That is the official court order right here. But Caban and Rodriguez delayed tearing it down. The illegal structure was finally removed in early June. The delay prompted the landlord's attorney to demand the August 31st vacate order be moved up so Con Sofrito could be evicted immediately. On July 29th, a judge denied a last-ditch effort by Con Sofrito to reject the landlord's demand, triggering the eviction notice. Asked whether this weekend's parties are kosher despite the court order, a buildings department spokesman said the certificate of occupancy indicates it is a legal eating and drinking establishment with occupancy for 200 people. There are currently no Department of Building issued vacate orders in effect at the location, and Department of Buildings has not received any recent 311 complaints nor any interagency referrals, the spokesman said. The FDNY did not reply to a request for comment. Asked whether the mayor will attend this weekend's events, an Adams spokeswoman said, We don't advise the mayor's schedule ahead of time since it's subject to change, but do appraise the media of his official schedule when it's published the day before. No event is confirmed until it appears on the mayor's schedule. An attorney for the landlord did not return multiple requests for comment on this weekend's planned parties. The law firm representing Sofrito did not reply to an email. In addition to Adams and Commissioner Caban, the restaurant has been frequented by Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson, Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, and State Attorney General Letitia James, as well as NYPD brass. Adams celebrated his 63rd birthday at the joint in September 2023. And there you have it. The swan song for Con Sofrito. But just got a tip. Sounds like Con Sofrito might be going into 2 new locations in the Bronx. One on 1161 Castle Hill Road and another one on 26 Bruckner. Respectively, I believe the name of these places is Q44 and Made in Puerto Rico. I just hope that the New York City Police Department, especially the upper management, don't continue violating these rules they put in place that they arbitrarily apply only to certain people. But we'll see. Stay tuned for that one. Of course, it's just a rumor. And now for my interview live with Chris's World.
Mr. Sal Greco, thank you very much for joining me this evening. How you doing, sir?
You know, I like the intro. I like that you had the WWE belt. There's just one thing. You were playing John Cena's song, but everybody could tell you, not only do I look like this guy, but he happens to be my favorite wrestler.
You are the tribal chief in the flesh. My God. Hey, are you a fan of wrestling?
I've been following wrestling since I was in diapers.
My God. I live, eat, and breathe 2 things: politics and WWE. And I swear, Saturday night having Roman Reigns come back was electric. Absolutely electric.
Oh, you know, I was watching that. I saw like Solo Sikoa was on the ground. I saw that they already had the run-ins. The bloodline came in. I said, there's only one thing left. And boom, the music hit and the place erupted. And Roman Reigns, that was his first ever baby face pop that the whole arena stood up for the guy. Look, I know Cody Rhodes is a really nice guy, but is he the guy to carry the company? I'm sorry. I see a lot of the Ultimate Warrior in him.
Sal, you never know what you have until it's gone, because I was rooting against Roman. I have to own it. I can't go back on my word. It's not the type of guy I am. I'm going to own it when I'm wrong. And boy, was I wrong, because I wanted Cody to win. Here we are, 6 months later, and I want the tribal chief back, bro.
He's got the it factor. He's from the lineage of a Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan carried wrestling, carried a company. He's the man. I mean, he even carried the RNC. But Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan, the next big thing in wrestling had Stone Cold Steve Austin. We had The Rock, of course. Then Hulk Hogan had to come back to carry the load once again. And then you had John Cena. And then they kind of, CM Punk, nice guy, another guy who, again, I don't think could carry a company. You had who came after him? You had Randy Orton. All these guys.
You had the KO, and then you went through the ringer with a couple of guys too.
Daniel Bryan, and listen, Daniel, nice wrestler. These guys are really good. They're like the undercard, because the guy that everybody comes to see is a Roman Reigns. He's in the mold of his cousin, but he's got the charisma. He's got it all. As far as wrestling goes, he's the
total package.
He's the Hulk Hogan of this generation. Only he's a superstar athlete. That's why they don't want him wrestling too much, because when he puts on a one match, the guy is flying all over the ring, and he's like, oh my God, this guy's great. He's the X factor. He came out, he got that big pop. He had a 1,300 day reign as champion. The only other guy in the last 45 years has had that, Hulk Hogan. And that in itself right there could tell you, he came out, he took over SummerSlam. I'm sorry, Cody Rhodes is a nice guy. I don't know if Triple H is watching this. Triple H, go back to 1990. They put the belt on the Ultimate Warrior. It was a feel-good moment, and everything fizzled after that. And then what happened? They had to put the belt back on Hulk Hogan because he's Hulk Hogan. You're going to end up doing the same thing here. Roman Reigns is going to carry the company.
No, there's no doubt. We're going to get, when Roman comes back, he will get the belt, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So Sal, let's dive into some politics here. First and foremost, really appreciate you coming on. 14-year vet with the NYPD. You've been on Tucker Carlson, man. You've got friends in high places. I know that you're very close with Roger Stone as well, host of your own show. For anybody who might not be familiar with you, I want to just give you the opportunity to introduce yourself real quick.
Sure. So I was a 14-year veteran of the New York City Police Department. I had an unblemished record. As you can tell, there's just a few of the awards I have of over 50 medals. I had nothing nefarious on my record. I was one of the top guys in DWI arrests. I've been sued one time, and I have no complaints, no CCRBs, none of this crazy stuff you see all these other cops that they say are really bad get complaints. But they had a problem with me. Chris, they had a problem that I was friends with Roger Stone and I supported Donald Trump. They had a witch hunt. It lasted 18 months. I went through a show trial, an internal trial that Roger actually came for. They ultimately found me guilty. They terminated me because they said I violated one of these provisions in the NYPD Patrol Guide, which is what governs all ranks in the New York City Police Department. And there's one provision that states that you cannot wrongfully or knowingly associate with someone who's reasonably believed to have engaged in or likely to have engaged in criminal activity. They're saying this person's Roger Stone, a man who's been pardoned, who has nothing on his record other than that stupid trial, that witch hunt that we went through. So they said I was guilty of this. And now that I sued them immediately, I had to go through 2 motions to dismiss. And this is where, if you did follow my show and you've listened to my story, I caught Eric Adams, the illustrious mayor of New York City, and his cohorts in the New York City Police Department hanging out at this nightclub that's now shuttered. And I wonder why they shut it.
Go figure.
In the Bronx. And it's called Con Sofrito. And
I love it.
It's owned by the police commissioner's brother, Richard Caban. And the co-owner manager's a guy by the name of Jimmy Rodriguez, a mob associate and self-admitted criminal who used to own a place called Jimmy's Bronx Cafe. Very infamous. Major League Baseball banned their players from going there for a couple of years. Everybody has been there. Fidel Castro, he went there when he came to New York City. So, and he's also a very close friend, very chummy friend of Hillary Rodham Clinton and Bill Clinton. So this is who you're dealing with. And this place has been illegally operating. It had a party shed. It never had a C of O, was deemed a public safety hazard. They still stayed open, having parties, and every big politician has been there as far as Democrats go. Letitia James and Carl Hastie live in this place. I mean, they were partying to the break of dawn with Eric Adams. And you know how we know? Chris, it's all over the internet. And every New York City Police Department officer and most executives hanging out in this place, all violating the same rule that they said I violated. But here's the catch. That place operating illegally and the fire hazard, because the fire department gave them 20 violations, and they violated numerous court orders, including the landlord who brought them to court. They went back and forth. Finally, they finally got them to shut down after the last party they had, because the last party had the police department, the New York City sheriff, Anthony Miranda, another corrupt individual. They were sitting there okaying this. So that's the whole point.
And Sal, you make not to cut you off, but you make such a good point. I mean, something that gets overlooked, and I don't know if it's because it's just micro, like it's a very in-depth version. But I mean, you could look at what they did to Trump and how Michael Colangelo, who's the number 3 guy at the DOJ who steps down to take a job that somebody gets after they come out of law school. And then they go after Trump. I believe that was in the Merchant case, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, and again, before that, you have Engeron talking about what was the value of Mar-a-Lago? What did they say? 15 million?
15 million.
Yeah, like, come on, dude. Helen Keller could tell you that thing's not worth 15 million. It's just sad. But this is New York, and it's not just New York, right? You could point out a couple of states that are just such a hard blue state. And what we'll see ultimately, I believe, is a fleeing. You're going to see corporations, headquarters, small business owners. They're not going to want to do business there. Look at what's happened to Seattle. Seattle, All of the businesses gone. I mean, you want to go to get a Philly cheesesteak on the side of the road? Good luck getting one at 10 at night.
Well,
maybe
Chris,
you used to, but not anymore because nobody's going to risk it. It's just.
I think Seattle went downhill once A-Rod left the Mariners, to be honest. I mean,
99 or 2000 to the Rangers after, right?
Yeah, he saw it coming. The Supersonics, the Seattle Supersonics left. I feel bad because Seattle is the hometown of Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all these big bands that came out in the early 90s that basically shaped many lives, and people that are born now are going, oh, wait a minute. No, those guys came out in my time, late 80s, early 90s, and the city is basically a socialist utopia, and that's why it is what it is there. And I feel bad because Seattle is a beautiful town other than the policies that have been running the state and the city. And New York City is just a microcosm of the country because the corruption, basically the default position of New York City is corruption. So that's what you're seeing now. And the needle has gone completely to the left. So they have to step in. Somebody here, the Fed, somebody has to step in. They can't investigate themselves. And you just mentioned the case with Trump. All the Trump haters were hanging out at Sofrito. I'll tell you what's even crazier. The party that they got in trouble, the last one, was an alcohol party, like a new alcohol drink that featured Fat Joe. And Fat Joe is what? A surrogate for Kamala Harris. And he's very entrenched with Sofrito.
Come on, Fat Joe. What are you doing, Fat Joe?
Fat Joe is a convicted felon. So is Peter Guns. These guys are hanging out in Sofrito. And what are they doing hanging around Kamala Harris? So people need to look at this and say, Sal, it's just a nightclub. Oh, you got a bone to pick. No, it's not about picking a bone. I'm a cop, and I'm telling you, when you keep digging and finding stuff, and then you're seeing, wait a minute, you got every branch of government hanging out here. The attorney general, district attorney, the mayor, the police commissioner. Now you got all these Fat Joe, all these clowns hanging out. And
starts to connect all the dots, and everything starts to make sense.
And they linked back to the White House. They linked back to Kamala Harris. They linked back to Joe Biden. So what's going on here? And you know something? One thing we have in common is they're Trump haters. That's clear as day.
The derangement syndrome runs deep. And, I fear, I don't know. There's just so many people that are suffering from the TDS right now. Yeah. I just hope it's not upwards of 40%. But my God, you take a scroll on TikTok for a second and it'll blow your mind. I mean, I post on TikTok, dude. I mean, 10 out of 10 comments, they're making fun of my eyes, my teeth, my nose. I'm like, Jesus Christ, give me a break for a second. But it's absolutely crazy. And to what you're saying, people do need to be aware of this stuff. And I think the way that they become aware of it is hopefully you get people listening to us tonight talking about it. You hear this conversation happening in spaces. And this is why I encourage everybody. You got to get out, network, talk to like-minded individuals, find the truth, and then share it. And you're playing a huge role in the America First saving this country movement. But Sal, I want to play this ad.
Banging the drum. That's the most important thing. Got to bang the drum loud.
Bang it loud. No doubt about it. I want to play this clip for you, this Trump ad, and then we can react to it afterwards. But this just came out yesterday.
What could be weirder than signing a bill into law that requires schools to stock tampons in boys' bathrooms? Or weirder than signing legislation allowing minors to receive sex change operations? Try electing the man who signed those bills Vice President of the United States. Enter Chief Weirdo Tim Walz. As governor of Minnesota, Walz supported legislation that endangers minors, hurts women, and puts radical ideology ahead of common sense. Now Kamala wants Walz to enforce those laws on a national scale. Tim Walz, too weird, too radical.
And it is crazy, Sal, because then they point the finger and call us weird, but they're putting tampons in boys' bathrooms. Let me be clear about that in school. Sal, I have a lot of people that come on the show. I do segments like this all the time, and I ask everybody this question, and I'm looking for the answer. Maybe you've got the answer for me. What is the obsession with the transgender, let's not allow people to reproduce, because ultimately that's the goal, right? They want to eliminate the middle class reproduction and then replace the demographic. But I mean, is it as simple as that? Or is there some weird sex shit going on in the background in regards to the ideology, the transgender ideology that's being shoved down the throat of all Americans, no pun intended, when it's only 1% of the population?
They want to fundamentally change the world, and they want to play God. That's basically it. They want to thumb their nose at the creator and say, we will create what goes on now. We're going to recreate the world in our vision. And they kind of forget that you're only here a short time, and you're not immortal, and you're definitely not a god. Nobody here on this planet is a god. There's only one God. And they want to fundamentally change the way the world is. They think they're going to recreate people by making them, you know, a man is a woman is. You can't change what you're biologically born as. I saw something about this boxer who unfortunately beat one of my paisans. Okay. And, oh, well, they're born with a male chromosome. So you're a male. There is no being born with both. I don't know if you want to call yourself a hermaphrodite. I mean, it's
hey, really- Sal, not to cut you off, brother, but big news. This is breaking as of 3 hours ago. It is official. The 2 finalists for women's boxing at the Olympics are both fucking males.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Congratulations, globalists. You played yourself. DJ Khaled voice. But I mean, Sal, it is sad because 2 young women lost an opportunity here.
Yeah. And it's sad because, you know, they're now going to try to say, I saw that the Algerian, the father said, oh, look, here's the birth certificate. And, you know, things could be faked, right? They could easily.
I saw it.
I don't believe anything. I remember even as a cop, I always had to have the physical evidence. I had to do it myself. I didn't believe anybody because I just don't. Why? Because you can easily be duped. Even with something I tell you, like when I was talking about the nightclub, check it out, and everything did check out. So you have to be persistent and you have to be truthful, and that's key. These people are very deceptive because they want to push this crazy agenda that women are men and men are women. I don't get it. I just think they want to fundamentally change the world. But every time, you know, I hate to say this, in the Bible, if you read the Bible at all, if you look at the Bible, all the time, it looks like the world always gets replenished by God over and over again. Humanity can unite. When I heard Trump say we need to unite, it's just impossible. You know why? Because history has told us every time we get wiped out by something cataclysmically. And we got one reprieve because who was it? It was Jesus Christ that came in and sacrificed himself, even though there was all kind of chaos as he was dying on the cross. Nothing happened. That was your one reprieve. You're not going to get another one. And I just think you're headed down the same road. You want to call it like the end of times. It's just going to be another reset button coming from the top, because this is you're thumbing your nose. You're putting your thumb in the face of God by saying, I'm going to fundamentally change what you biologically put on earth. A woman is a woman. You cannot change that. That gene is in there. Same with a man. But they want to change it, and then they're going to make it a transgender world. This is crazy stuff. I mean, you want to live your life like that, that's fine, but don't push it off on others. That's all I'm saying.
No, well, you said something it's profound. Play God. They're trying to play God, and I think that's an impactful 2 words there. When you say somebody's trying to play God, it's like, oh, whoa, you know, they are trying to play God. And think about it like this. In Minnesota, and let's bring up Minnesota because of Tim Walz. Let's highlight Tim Walz's record in the legislation that they have passed under his leadership. Parents, guess what? In Minnesota, good luck. If your Christopher wants to wake up and be Cindy at school, the teachers aren't going to tell you. If little Christopher wants to be Cindy and you say, no, you're not going to be Cindy, we're not allowing you to be Cindy, you're a boy, you're going to stay a boy, he could just call CPS and they'll come pick him up. So they say, hey, your kids, those aren't your kids. Those are the government's kids. They're our kids. We're God. We're playing God. I like I like that phrasing there. But one other point too, just on this transgender thing. I don't know if you've ever seen this. Joe Rogan had a guy on. Are you a Rogan fan? I assume probably.
Actually, I don't follow everything he says or does because he's got like it's like a lot to watch, a 4-hour show. But
Yeah.
I do like, he's a UFC guy, and I know a lot of friends of mine that know him. So he seems to be a nice guy. I think he had problems with Roger though. So I think. Roger,
okay. Okay. Well, we'll leave that for another day. But ultimately, he had a guy on his podcast, just an expert in history, and what he was talking about there. Rome had this issue as well with sexual confusion and transgender. Believe it or not, and I never knew that. Then it shocked me to think that thousands of years ago we still had this issue. And what is it? So what's creating this issue? And the guy said it seems to be that when times get so good, you start to push societal norms and extremes, and it's just a natural human thing to do. But when there's no voice of reason, like what happened with Rome, you're going to have a collapse. Donald Trump is our voice of reason. And I highlight that simply to say these are the bullet point highlights of why we got to get this guy back in office, man. Otherwise,
do you really want the governor who was in charge of the state where Derek Chauvin's incident happened? Remember that?
I mean, did you see his wife? She says, I kept the windows open just to smell the burn of rubber in their house. She said that on an interview.
These people are like, they're not even, I don't even consider them Democrats. They're just out there. They're radical. This is the left-wing version of what they said. What the Proud Boys? Here you go. That's what this guy is. He's the left-wing version of that. Because if there's supposed to be a right-wing problem, you're left-wing. This is radical people. They believe in something that's insane to even think, and we're just common sense people right in the middle, But this is what's representing their party. Just they've reached the very top. They've reached the top of the ladder right now.
They have. So, Sal, before I let you go, and I really value your time tonight, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. A guy like yourself, I know you're really busy, so it means a lot to me, and I'm sure the viewers really appreciate your time as well. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the lack of regard or conscious giving a fuck from the Democrats when it comes to lying. They will straight lie to our faces without any care in the world. Now, we've seen this for a long time, sure, but have you seen it at a level where we have a guy claim that he carried a gun in war that actually left before his platoon even was sent off to war? I want to play this clip real quick. It's only 30 seconds, and give us a chance to react, and then I'll let you go. I know you're real busy, so let me play this clip here real quick.
Waltz did make a comment speaking to a group. He's done it a couple of times where he has used language that has suggested that he carried weapons in a fighting situation. As you know, with your contact with the military, I know from coming from a military family, there is a difference between being in a combat area, being involved at a time of war, and actually being in a position where people are shooting at you. There is no evidence that at any time Governor Waltz was in a position of being shot at, and some of his language could easily be seen to suggest that he was. So that is absolutely false when he said that.
Absolutely false. And this is coming from CNN. CNN of all places. Your thoughts?
He's a man of zero, like he has low integrity. He has no substance. And you know something? I know they want to focus on this, and it's good to bring it up because it shows he's got low integrity or no integrity. And, he's had his issues. I mean, they brought this up in other times he ran for office. But I would, if I just go on his policies and how he's running that state, you'd crush this guy because he is a far left, not even progressive. He's just, I would call it radical. There's a difference between a progressive and a radical. This guy wants to radically, fundamentally change the world and what his vision is and his agenda. So that's what I would really stick with. It's a good point to mention this. Look at his policies. Go down the line like a bullet point, and then go see that he was funding he wanted to help the rioters that burned down all his towns there in Minnesota. He wanted to fund them, get him out of prison. And then I guarantee you, if you look at those prosecutions, you're going to see a lot of, RMAs, slap on the wrists, decline prosecutions for all that mess and all that damage people caused. Meanwhile, I guarantee you, he's going to bring up January 6th as if it's a Pearl Harbor. Oh, my God. The world came to an end. It was a couple of hours where it just a riot or a protest, they got a little carried away, or maybe it's a riot. Meanwhile, you had months of damage in his own state, and he was helping these people get out of jail, lenient sentences, because he's the governor and he's okaying it. And they had a radical attorney general as well. So that state in itself went from Jesse Ventura to this. That's what it went to. Do you really want this guy as your vice president, potentially someday be a president once, let's say, a potential Kamala Harris, the cackler, is in office? Another one who doesn't know policy. She thinks she could laugh and cackle her way through things and say, well, I don't know the policy, but vote for me, I'm black. Which I don't even know if she is, but she says, vote for me because I'm black. That's basically what it is. And I'm going to, abortion. I can't buy bread. What are you going to do for me, Kamala? I'm going to help you have an abortion. I'm a man. That can't help me. What is that going to do?
She'd beg to differ, though.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
Policy is. Donald Trump is a bad man. That's what their three bullet points. This is their bullet points going forward. 1, abortions. 2, January 6th. 3, Trump is a bad man, right? And 4, what else? All police.
Well, it is sad, these radicals, because they look at January 6th and they compare it to 3,000 people dying on 9/11, let alone, of course, the people that died afterwards. One person died on January 6th, and let's not use the word died. Let's use the word murdered. Yep. It was Ashley Babbitt, right, by Officer Byrd. I think his name is Michael Byrd, if I may be wrong. I think that's it. Mm-hmm. And it's a travesty. It should be an insult to all Americans comparing 9/11 to January 6th. But, you said something, Sal, you kind of opened my eyes a little bit here, man, because what they do is point the finger and say, bad man, bad man, bad man. Yeah. Rape, fraud, this, that, and the third. That's what they do because they don't have policies to run on. Right. So we should, to your point, we should highlight the bad because it does put a spotlight on the lack of integrity. But let's not harp on it because we have good policies to run on.
Correct.
We've got common sense to run on.
You win on your policy. You won't win on Kamala Harris says she was Asian. Now she's black. I don't agree with that kind of stuff. I sit here today. I just went to go get gas. I paid over $4 just to get gas. I get a loaf of bread. The loaf of bread used to be what? $1.50, $2. Now it's $5. What are you going to do to help me make more money or lower the inflation or help me buy my bread and get gas in my car? How about that? That's what matters. Everything else, listen, abortions and all, that's all she talks about. Abortions, Trump is bad. Ha, 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 ha. She's laughing. What are you going to do about legal immigration? Ha, 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 ha. Oh, we're going to stretch this out. And she has no idea what she's talking about. She clearly was helped along in her whole career. Well, she's been a person of power because they put her there. Because they said, well, maybe she's good on one thing or whatever she's good at policy-wise, but she doesn't know anything else. I don't think she knows law enforcement, which is scary. She's a lawyer. Ask her some questions. I bet you she'd be like, how do you not know? You are the vice president of the United States. She doesn't know any policy. So stick with that. You win. You know why? Their policies are atrocious. You don't win on the other guy's a bad guy. They're trying to get to your hate. They want you to vote off your hatred instead of voting off of what is going to benefit me better. This person's policies or the other person's policies. And very clearly, Donald Trump, whether you like him or you don't like him, that policy is what will make America go forward. The other person's policies, if you like or don't like it, that will set the country back forever, probably. It's just the truth. You might live on. America might move on. They might always live on and on. But you know what? You will then slowly become, you're not the best nation anymore. You're not the land of the free. You're not the home of the brave. You're the home of, I can't buy bread. And I watch the rich get richer and the poor, some of them just dying in the street because they don't care. That's the truth of this regime. And it's not all Democrats, but the Democrats themselves realize they have a problem in their own party and they need to, kind of trim the fat, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, we could hope, but I don't know, man. If they get in, I don't even like to go there with talking hypotheticals. If they get in, if they get in, it's going to be something that in this country that we've never seen before. I mean, they're the furthest left pairing that we've ever seen.
The Republicans have to be smart here. Don't sit there and say, well, we got this in the bag. It's over. It's not over. Nothing is over until the very end. You go out there, you knock on doors. I've seen some things from the RNC is very alarming. I don't want to see Laura Trump hanging out with French Montana, a felon rapper who's friends with all these clowns from Sofrito. That is not, listen, Instagram is not going to get you votes. It's not.
True.
You have to be knocking on doors. You have to see the men and women of this country go out there and get their attention and say, I'm going to do this for you. I didn't forget about you. Not French Montana rapping about being at Sofrito and doing God knows what other felonious acts they've been doing up there. That is ridiculous. That is not who you appeal to. Low information people that don't even go to vote because they're too busy getting hammered all night at Sofrito. You have to appeal to the people. What are you going to do for their pocket and for their future? People cannot afford a loaf of bread. It's serious. Go around and ask. People cannot afford their own groceries. What are you going to do for me? I don't want to hear about a rapper. Really, that's just ridiculous. But that's the priorities, it seems, of the RNC. So people may have to start doing the grassroots on their own just to save the country.
I agree, man. I agree with you. I hope that we do see the changes that you're talking about, right? I mean, there's no need for the what you see with French Montana and others, right? You want to align yourself with those that are going to show up for you. And I think you make a good point, right? You don't want to market to people who aren't going to show up anyway. I mean, at that point, it's like, what the hell?
Well, but is he going to? Do you want to elect the president of the United States or the president of social media? Because that's what you're aiming for with a clown like French Montana and appealing and every day being on social media. Get out in the street. New York, you can actually witness if you knock on doors. Not by going on social media and having French Montana sing for you. That's not going to work. I'm sorry. These people feel abandoned. You understand? I hope somebody's watching. People feel abandoned. They feel abandoned even by the Trump campaign. You understand? Sitting around and doing podcast, that's all great, but you have to cover all your bases. You have to be in the street, grassroots, knock on the doors, get people's attention, because you're going to hear the horror stories that they can't afford their bread. And that's why they don't even want to vote, because they feel like it's just a listless situation. Nobody cares about them, and no matter what they do, things are just going to get progressively worse, and they'll just wait it out. They'll just wait for till they hold on to their last penny, and that's the problem.
Well, we got to get our guy back in office, man, and we'll turn this shit around. That is all we can hope for. You got to keep talking to people, like you said, grassroots. Wear the MAGA hat. Start the conversation with people at the bar. Talk about the issues. This is what I encourage people to do on a day-to-day basis. But Sal, man, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Really, this has been a blast. Getting to know you a little bit, shoot the breeze about WWE, getting your thoughts on politics. You're a great guy, great patriot. I know we've spoke here and there before in spaces, but it was an honor to have you on, brother.
It's just been an honor. It's been a blast. I'd love to come back in the future. And listen, anybody out there, you can check me out also right there, like it says, on YouTube, on Rumble, at the Sal Greco Show. I'm going to have a new episode up very shortly. I myself talk a little bit about politics and also New York City Police Department, New York City in general, because, again, as New York City goes, so does the country. It's still the metropolis of the world, we'll say. It's still the financial capital of the world. So you can't be having Eric Adams party to the break of dawn, and he's the city of favors where it looks like everybody and anybody could just buy what they want from him, and nobody's ever held accountable. Number one problem, besides not being able to buy a loaf of bread, the next big problem is there's no accountability. There's no accountability. Everyone, it's a free-for-all. And the only people that seem to be held accountable is a Trump supporter or a Trump voter. he walks across the street jaywalking, jail him for 20 years. I mean, that's not, if it's not the truth, we're going to use Eric Adams' line. It's the perception. That's the perception of what people are saying and seeing. You're a Trump supporter. The rules apply to you more than they do to the next guy. So they're arbitrary instead of being even. That has to change. We need accountability in the country.
Hey, we say it all the time. Decency and accountability are on the ballot here in November.
And
Sal, I appreciate it, man.
Don't forget, Roman Reigns will be on SmackDown on Friday.
Yes.
The OTC, the original tribal chief, the head of the table. As goes, so will the country. That's what I say.
Yeah, Sal, now you're in trouble because I'm going to be texting you here and there about some WWE stuff. So expect a direct mess a couple of weeks. Hey, man, did you watch Raw? Did you see? I
watch it religiously. Trust me. I love WWE.
Awesome. Love it. Sal, thank you again, man. It's a pleasure having you on, and I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. It was my honor.
Absolutely. Sal Greco, ladies and gentlemen. Sal Greco at the Sal Greco, 14-year NYPD veteran, host of the Sal Greco Show. Great patriot. If you're not following him, please follow him. He is in spaces all the time, talking truth, giving people the knowledge that is that gives them power, right? Knowledge is power. So we appreciate Sal.
All right. I'd like to thank Chris from Live at Chris's World for having me on his show. I really thoroughly enjoyed discussing things like wrestling because it's a break from everything else, and we're going to end the show again with another pizza review I had. But before we do that, I'd like you to hit the like button, subscribe, share on YouTube, on Rumble, click the Rumble button on all the other major platforms. Write a nice review if you can, rate the podcast, and spread the message, spread the word. If you like what you hear, if you like what you see. I did see one comment. Someone said that I have to be more concise or I'm taking too long. This is an unscripted show, and, I just go with the flow, So I don't know what to say there. I think somebody made a joke, too, that said I was too tall for the screen or something, or too short. But I'm 6'3", so I have to sit in a chair really low to even fit on the screen. So with that being said, this has been another edition of the Sal Greco Show. Like I said, don't forget to click the like, share, and subscribe button on YouTube. Also on Rumble, hit the Rumble button. And then, like I said, leave a nice little review on all the other platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google Play. And enjoy the pizza review. And I'll see you on the next one. Because remember, life is always about imagine eating this good.
All right, so we're here at 11th Street Pizza over here in downtown Miami. This looks really good. So let's give this a try. Right off the bat, I like to have basil. Not that much of a flop. This crust looks really good. This reminds me of an old school Brooklyn, New York pizzeria, like a pizza from Brooklyn. This is not good. It's actually spectacular. This is my favorite Sicilian. They call it the Brooklyn slice. This, also spectacular. This is like being in Brooklyn. This pizza, if you go to Brooklyn, New York, and you come here, you won't know where you are. Except for the fact that the neighborhood is a lot better here than anything in Brooklyn in the year 2024. I highly recommend you come here. In fact, I would be coming here every single night if I lived in Miami. That's how good this is. This is spectacular. You taste everything. It really, between sauce, cheese, this tastes like Brooklyn. This is Brooklyn to me. That's why they call this a Brooklyn slice. So Make sure you come to 11th Street Pizza. You may even have to get on a flight to come here if you're from anywhere in the country. Make sure you come to 11th Street Pizza. It's spectacular. And remember, imagine eating this good.